That period leading to retirement and extending into the first few months of retirement can be some of the most exciting months of your life. After 30 or 40 years of working, you're going to get back a resource that might not have been yours since you were a kid. Time. Time to travel, time with family, time to pursue the things you've been putting off on the back burner. And hopefully, time to enjoy the financial independence you've spent decades building. But retirement also represents a significant transition. For most of your working time, your financial life had a certain rhythm. You earned an income, contributed to your investments, paid your taxes, and gradually built your wealth. When you retire, that changes. Instead of building your financial plan around earning an income, you're now asking a different question. How do I turn the wealth I've accumulated into the income and lifestyle I want for the rest of my time? That's where good planning can make a tremendous difference. So today I want to walk you through 5 things I believe are worth paying particular attention to during that period approaching retirement, as well as in the first few years of it. These aren't about worrying about everything that could go wrong. They're about creating a strong foundation so you can spend more time enjoying retirement and less time wondering whether you're doing the things right. Hi, I'm Stefano Francesca, Certified Financial Planner Professional and Senior Wealth Advisor at Next Step Wealth Management with IPC Securities Corporation. Let's start with something that changes almost immediately when you retire. Create your retirement paycheck. For most of your working life, your paycheck simply arrived every 2 weeks. You knew roughly how much was coming in, when it was coming in, and what you needed to do with it. Retirement gives you something different. You get to decide where your income comes from. That could be one of the greatest advantages of retirement, but it also means there are more decisions to coordinate. You may have CPP, OAS, a company pension, RRSPs, locked-in funds, RRIFs, TFSAs, corporate accounts, and non-registered investments. And each one works a little differently from a tax perspective. So rather than simply asking, where should I take this month's money from? I'd encourage you to think bigger. What should your income look like over the next 5 or 10 years? Which accounts should you draw from first? When should CPP and OAS begin? How can you use your TFSA effectively? How much should you be withdrawing from your RRSPs or RRIFs and when? And how can all of those decisions work together? That's what a retirement income strategy is really all about. You're not just creating a withdrawal plan, you're creating a paycheck for the next chapter of your life. And one of the things I really enjoy most about working with clients approaching retirement is helping them make that transition from acquiring wealth to actually enjoying it. If you'd like someone to look at your specific accounts and build a proper sequence, scan the QR code on the screen or press the link below to book a time with me. Let's move on to number 2. Take a fresh look at your health coverage. One of the things that can change when you retire is your employer benefits. During your working years, you may not have thought much about the cost of prescriptions, dental care, vision care, physiotherapy, medical equipment, or travel medical insurance. A good employer benefits plan can quietly cover a lot of those expenses. When you retire, it's worth taking a fresh look. What coverage are you losing? What benefits are available through provincial programs? And are there gaps that you may want to address with continuation or private coverage? This isn't about expecting the worst. It's about making sure that your retirement plan reflects your life as it actually is. And there's another reason I encourage people to look at this early. With some types of private insurance, your age and your health at the time you apply can affect your options. So if you're approaching retirement, it's worth understanding your choices before you need them. That way you can make decisions from a position of choice rather than having to react later. Bring your estate plan up to date. Here's another area that deserves a fresh look when you retire. Your estate plan may have been created many years ago. Maybe your children were young, maybe you were still working, maybe you had a completely different investment portfolio. Maybe your family circumstances looked very different from what they do today. Retirement is a great opportunity to revisit those documents. Start with your will. Then look at the beneficiary designations on your RRSPs, RRIFs, TFSAs, and insurance policies. Make sure your powers of attorney are still appropriate. And most importantly, make sure everything works together. One thing that's particularly important is remembering that beneficiary designations on registered accounts can have a significant impact on where those assets ultimately go. Your will and your beneficiary designations aren't necessarily doing the same job, so it's worth coordinating them. And there's another piece of this conversation that often gets overlooked. taxes at death. When the last surviving spouse passes away, registered assets such as RRSPs and RRIFs can potentially create a significant tax liability because those assets may be included in income on the final tax return, subject to the appropriate rollover and other rules. That's why good estate planning isn't simply about deciding who gets your money. It's also about understanding how much of your wealth ultimately reaches the people and causes that matter to you. For many families, that's an incredibly valuable conversation to have while they're still healthy and have plenty of time to make thoughtful decisions. Take advantage of your retirement tax window. This is one of my favorite areas of retirement planning because it can create some really interesting opportunities. There can be a period of time between retirement and the point where mandatory RRIF withdrawals begin, where your taxable income may be lower than it was during your working years. And that can create a pretty significant tax opportunity. Depending upon your circumstances, you may want to consider such things as strategic RRSP withdrawals, contributions to your TFSA, the timing of CPP and OAS, managing taxable income between spouses, and planning ahead for future RRIF withdrawals. The goal isn't necessarily to pay the least amount of tax this year. It's to look at your lifetime tax picture. Sometimes paying a little bit more tax today can actually reduce the amount of tax you pay over the course of your retirement. At other times, the best strategy may be to defer income. It depends entirely on your situation. That's why I don't think retirement tax planning should be a one-year exercise. I'd rather see clients looking 5, 10, or even 15 years ahead and asking, if we make these decisions today, what does this do to our taxes over the rest of our retirement and for our estate? That kind of planning can create opportunities that simply aren't visible when you're looking at one tax return at a time. Design the retirement you actually want. And finally, perhaps the most important one, design your life. I know that sounds very different from the other four. We're talking about money, taxes, investments, and estate planning. But here's the thing. Money is a tool. The reason we spend so much time planning the financial side of retirement is so that you can use that money to create a life that matters to you. For decades, your calendar probably had structure built into it. You had work, meetings, responsibilities. You had somewhere you needed to be. Then one day, you retire, and suddenly, your calendar is yours. That's an incredible opportunity. But it's worth thinking about what you actually want to do with that freedom. What does a great Tuesday morning look like? Who do you want to spend time with? Where do you want to travel? What hobbies have you always wanted to pursue? Do you want to work part-time? Do you want to give back by volunteering or coaching? Spend more time with your grandchildren? Take up golf? Learn something completely new? Maybe retirement means moving closer to family. Maybe it means finally taking that long trip you've been talking about for 20 years. There isn't one right answer, and that's the point. Your retirement should be designed around you. And I think that's one of the most rewarding parts of financial planning. We aren't simply trying to determine whether you have enough money. We're trying to understand what you're actually trying to accomplish with that money. So let's bring the 5 things together. First, create a retirement income strategy so you know where your paycheck is going to come from. Second, review your health and insurance coverage so your financial plan reflects your actual needs. Third, update and coordinate your estate plan so your wishes are properly reflected. Fourth, look at your retirement tax window and identify opportunities to make your lifetime tax picture more efficient. And fifth, design the life you want to live with the time and financial freedom you've worked so hard to create. Because I don't think retirement planning should be about worrying whether you've made the perfect financial decision. It's about creating confidence. Confidence that your income is going to work, confidence that your taxes have been considered properly, confidence that your estate plan reflects your wishes, confidence that your investments are aligned with your goals, your risk tolerance, and your planned targets. And most importantly, confidence that your money is supporting the life that you actually want to live. That's what we focus on at Next Step Wealth Management. We work with Canadians approaching retirement and already in retirement to bring the investment, income, tax, estate, and lifestyle pieces together into one coordinated plan. If you want help pulling all this together, book a conversation with me. The link's in the description below. Let's take the next step.